Everyone, today's overview and review video is actually an overview and a first impression on Burncycle. So if you're new here, I am Krissy.
And I'm Nick.
And we usually play board games together and I review them, but today is a little bit different. Nick decided to join with us.
This is my first review with Krissy.
So quite the exciting video ahead for everybody. So just to be a little transparent here, this game was provided to us at a discount for review purposes. So the first player would obviously go first, and the first action that you're going to take in order is route power. So you can route power at the beginning of your turn, and it's basically, if you don't use your energy or your power here, you're basically going to lose it at the end of your turn. So if you have a surplus from the number that you have here on the character card that you have chosen, then you want to spend it. There's a few different ways that you can spend it on your board. So you can choose to get more chips whenever you reboot the Burncycle. You can choose to get more dice. You can choose to get more chips, or you can get more actions here. So at the beginning of the game, you're not going to really have extra power to be able to do this. You do have another action at the end of your turn to be able to do it if you collect more throughout your turn. So once you've done that, then you can go and you can collect your dice pool. This is what you're going to use for your actions. And your dice pool is how much power you have. So in this case here, I have 7. So you would collect your 7 dice, and then you move on to the next action, which are your actions. So your actions that you're going to take are based off of the chips that are here on the Burncycle. So this is a general chip, and you can use a general action. So those actions being physical, you can either move on the board, you can strike a security or a wall. And then another one is utility, and that is unlocking a keypad for a door. And there is also tech for a tech action. If you're standing on a blue terminal on the board, you can get a terminal card, or you can get a network card. Okay? So as an example for this first action here, you're going to take some of your dice. We're going to do a move action so that we can hopefully get into this door here. So you take your dice that you think that you're going to need, and you're going to roll them. Any blanks that you roll go back to your pool, and in this case, I can move up to 4 spaces. So I'm going to move 2 in front of the door, and then because I have 2 dice left, I'm going to choose to move the command module 2 spaces as well. And then for my second action, I'm going to try to unlock that door, but we have the captain's chip here, so we're going to need to move all the security units on the board up 1 space, the direction that they're facing. And then the dice, once you've used them, they go back to the pool here. And then we're going to unlock the door. So we're going to need a keypad card. This is basically going to tell you how to unlock the door based on which level you're on. So we are on level 1. So we're going to need to use a physical chip, which I do fortunately have one. So you would have to discard it to unlock the door. And if you don't have one of those chips, down at the bottom, there is an option to brute force the door. And this is going to cost 4 AP. So you would just roll your dice like I did for the movement action, and as long as you get 4 or more, then you would be able to break down that door open. But in this case, I was already able to discard that physical chip, so the door has already been unlocked.
Take the door card or keypad card, place it in the back.
And you place that right there to make sure that the door is open and everybody knows. And then once the door is open, you have the ability to move into it. So once you move into the room, if it hasn't been surveilled yet, then you need to roll the surveillance dice. In this case, it is 1. So we're going to take this off, and we're going to roll this die and see what we get. In this case, we get a mainframe terminal, and that is basically just turning over the terminal to that one right there that shows on the die. There's different options here on this die. This is adding a security unit to the room, which would be basically placing it on the icon here on the board. This would be gaining an extra power. This would be locking all doors within that room. And this icon here is drawing an imperative card. So imperative cards are basically a negative thing. So you can either pay power to get rid of the card, or whenever it does take place, whenever it happens, whatever's on here, you're going to gain the power that's down in the corner here. So this one is fight the power. The next strike action your agent takes must be against a guard. So whenever that does happen, you can discard it and you can gain the 1 power for it. Okay, so then we can go on to the third action, which will be another move in this case. It's our last one, so I'm going to roll all of my dice and see what I get. In this case, I only got 1 move action, so I will move the command module 1 space. And then even though that there is all these dice are blank, they still go to the supply because my turn is done, because I've done the 3 actions So once all your actions are done, you're going to move the tracker bead down to 1 and you're going to go into the network. So the network is this over here. It's moving your IP around. And moving your IP around is based off of these chips right here. So this is just a general trip. So we're going to move our IP 1 space. This one here is just another general 1, 2 for us. So again, we can move 1 space and always stopping on the red and collecting the reward that is on here. In this case, it's a plus, so our die would go up. There's a few other ones on here. We have this one right here, which is gaining a power, and this one right here, which will allow us to reduce 1 on the threat track. And then we go to the third chip that is here, and in this case, you have the option to go over this way, or if you can go down a level, you can do that as well.
So for another example of activating the network board for the players, sometimes the activation Burncycle will look similar to this. Or say purple's turn. So purple will move its ping to the next purple spot. So next she would move to the next green spot, but she has to stop because she comes to a hub. And then there's a basic just 1 move that she could transfer layers.
And then after network, the next step is route power again. So if you wanted to do that, if you had an overabundance of power, now is the time to bring it down to your threshold. And then the final step in your player turn is degrading the burn cycle. So what that means is you're just going to roll this die, and whatever number it lands on, that is the one that you're going to degrade and flip over like this, so it cannot be used by the next player. So the next player, if they didn't replace this chip here, they would only have 2 actions. So replacing a chip is a free action. It's basically just removing it and replacing it with either one of the chips that are in the shared pool or the player's pool if they have some. So in this case, it would technically be Nick's turn, so he can choose a chip to place here in the second spot. Nick chose a utility chip. Now this chip is optimized for the utility, so the specific blue action, which is the keypad. So in this case, since it's optimized, you would ignore 1 input whenever you're trying to unlock a door.
So I'll explain the corporation's turn. So once Krissy and I have both gone, it's the corporation's turn. So corporation starts with the security unit activation. So they have priority levels. Priority level 1 being pursue, priority level 2 being investigate, and priority level 3 is patrol. So let's say we had a guard out that was placed here when Krissy entered the room. When Krissy would have entered the room, she would have been in the awareness of this bot. Because this bot's awareness is 6, it can see 6 ahead or 3 any other way, right? So 1, 2, 3, Krissy would be in awareness. So you put the awareness chip on top of Krissy. So right now, Krissy is in the pursue level 1 because the security unit can see. So it's going to activate and try to get next to her. So it will turn, and you can decide the order, but it's got to be the shortest route. If it ties, right, 1, 2, or 1, 2, it's up to you. So you can move 1, 2, and it'll turn to face, and it'll reduce Krissy by the room level. Krissy would lose 1 power, right? So if all guards had pursued Krissy that was in her range that could see her, then you flip this over saying that she was pursued. You could flip the guard over and the other guards would then troll. So let's say we're further on in the game and I'm over here now and I was spotted. My awareness token is now in the range of the security unit, but I'm not. So it's going to investigate for priority level 2. So it will then move trying to get on top of this. Now, if there's multiple bots that are within range, you count which one's the closest and that one will activate. If there's 2 in range that are the closest, you can choose which one to move. It'll always move the shortest distance as well. So we'll go 1, 2, and it will face the direction that it wants to go. Once this has been investigated, only 1 bot will investigate an awareness chip. You flip it over, it's marking that it's been investigated, and it won't be investigated for the rest of this turn. So then you go on to patrol. As long as there's no more awareness tokens on the board, the remaining bots will just patrol. So this walker is going to move 4 in the direction, and it's got a patrol path on it. So it is moving counterclockwise around the board. So it's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's facing that way because that's the direction it's going to travel. Now I'm still out of its awareness because it is 2. Next is activate pings. So if there is not any pings on the network board, you place 1 in the core. Then you roll the dice, the network die, for how many pings are on hubs, since there is only 1 in the core. So that adds a ping to the core, and then all pings that can move out. So if they were already like this, and there was already pings out, pings would activate. Pings would move 3 around unless they get to a hub or come across an IP. And you move them starting on the outer layers, working your way in towards the core. So that is activating pings. If a ping ever landed on a hub, it stops. If it was going to land on another ping, it stops before. And if it was going to land on an IP, it lands on the IP and you compare your levels, and whichever one's highest will go back to their starting spot. Then you move to the third step of the corporation's turn, which is advanced threat. So you advance threat for player count. So it would be 1, 2. Since we moved past this event, which was remote spin down, deactivate the first Burncycle slot, we would do that, deactivate the first Burncycle slot, which would remove that.
Which means we gotta pay for it again.
Take that off the board. And now it is the next player in turn order, ready to go. So for a free action, once you run out of chips and you have no more chips in the supply and the burn cycle is looking a little degraded, you might want to reboot the burn cycle. So rebooting the burn cycle is you take all the chips off, you grab the basic chips and the captain chip, you put them back in the bag, you randomly put them out, you then collect chips on your bot that have been unlocked. So I would get another green and a blue purple and a blue chip. Krissy would get a purple chip. And then for each room that a robot's in, or a bot is in, we would also get a chip. So Gyro is sitting inside the lobby, would get a physical chip for the supply. Say Bit was in this room, we would still only get one because it's 1 per room. If Crash was over in this room, we would get a tech chip. And then once you have rebooted the burn cycle, you have to advance threat by player count. So we would go down to again, which would then trigger another event. So each level has an objective, and to complete the objective, if we look at our mission card, this one is steal a bear workshop. So if we complete it, all agents will get 3 power. So it has player count 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So you have to go to your player count and complete everything at the lower player count as well. So basically, to complete this objective for floor 1, we need to collect 3 caches. So once you have 3 caches collected between the bots, you will then have to make your way to a safe zone. But when you move to the next level, those are the spots you will start at. So once that happens, you would finish your turn, and then you would build the map up for the next level. Basically, you would set up the board again for level 2, looking at the floor plan book for level 2 of that corporation. You would then have to complete the objective. It would tell you what you have to do to win. This one is team have no security unit in a warehouse rooms at the end of any turn. And then to win, the command module has to enter the executive office and collect the cash in that room, then enter the service elevator. Once that is done, it's over, you've won.
You should feel good.
You should feel good because it gets more difficult.
Pretty hectic.
As you go up the level, right? You start with level 1 guards, then on floor 2, there's level 2 guards.
And I feel like there's a lot more of them. And they hit harder because it's level 2.
Yeah.
And level 3 if you make it all the way up there.
So there's just some miscellaneous things that we didn't mention. You can strike a unit, but it is hard. This game is not meant to be fighting robots and scary units.
You're really supposed to be stealthy in this game.
So if my bot was adjacent to this security unit, I could do a physical action to strike the unit, roll my dice, and I would need to get, for level 1 guards is 10 AP, level 2 is 15, and level 3 is 20. But if you're 5 away from that, you stun it, which basically just flip it over and it won't activate for the corporation's turn. So yeah, so the game comes with 10 bots, plus there's an expansion for 3 more bots. The game also comes with 3 corporations with an expansion of the 4th corporation. So there's a lot of variety, and each corporation has a lot of objective cards for that specific corporation, which keeps it really fresh.
Yeah, definitely fresh, and no real repetition, right?
No. And they all vary in difficulty and length.
Yeah, and I like that the bots, there's a lot of different bots that you can choose from, and whenever you're setting up the game, depending on which one you have, you really want to look at the bots' ability so that you know that it would kind of make the game a little bit easier too, right? You want to make sure that you're choosing a bot that's going to benefit.
You need to look at the objectives.
Yeah, yeah.
And you need to try to make your bots work with that.
Exactly. And of course, all of the extra abilities that we didn't really talk about. But there are a lot of different abilities within the bots too that you're going to need to use the power to be able to use them, to buy them so that you can use them. And those are really good. So all of them come with 3, and whatever ones that you can unlock are really good. I know that this one, because the last game that we played, I did play with gyro. So one of them is power walk, and this one now, movements, doesn't matter how many spaces you move. If it's in a straight line, it's only going to cost you 2 AP, which really came in handy at the end of the game because we were really trying to move quick in and out, because that's what you want to do with this one.
So there's only 2 ways to lose, which we should mention.
Sure. 2 ways to lose.
There's only 2 ways to lose. The threat track gets all the way down to the end, which says mission fail, or the command module dies. Other than that, you can spend as much time as you want fiddling around in the room,
trying to complete the mission.
Complete it, right? Because this goes back up and down a lot.
It does a lot, yeah. There's a lot of ways to negate that in the game, which is really nice too. So if you can get those.
And you can usually leave the command module behind and then leave it in safety and then bring it out when it's a little safer. You try to keep it in a safer zone, right? There's a bunch of things we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
we're not going to be able to cover it all.
Which is why it's a first impression video for this one.
And not a how to play video.
Exactly.
Right.
Or a review for it.
There's lots of little edge cases. The game is very simple.
Yeah, it's like the actions.
The actions are simple, but it's complex in how everything goes together.
Yeah, how it works. There was a lot of like little rule checks that we were doing just because it was little bits of information. Yeah. The actions overall are really easy.
Right? Like moving is fine.
Yeah.
I move 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on a terminal thing. I'll take a terminal card.
Yeah.
Or I want to open a door. But then there's rolling these dice. There's what goes on this space. Am I seen? Did he see me go into a hiding spot? Does he see me once I go through a door?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Can he enter a safe space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how many item cards can I have? Can you equip a mod? Can you hold a mod that's not equipped? Right? How everything goes together. It makes the game really in depth and thinking. And a lot of like the security activation is like, do you think it would have seen you? Because if you played it out in your head and you go, he would have seen me jump into that hiding space.
Definitely would have.
Then chances are it's seen you in the game jump into that hiding space.
Yeah. So a little bit of rules for that, right? Moving them around. Who's going to see you, who's not.
But on a scale, this is definitely not a complicated game. It just looks like a complicated game.
Yeah, it's just thinky, right? It's not complicated. It's really, like you're saying, you move around, you open up doors, you go through, you're seen, you're not seen. Like I was saying, the actions itself are really easy. Yeah. But there's a lot of thinking involved, right? And there's a lot of talking it out because obviously it is cooperative too. So there's talking it out. Okay, well, you can go here. Maybe I can follow. You open this door because your ability is a little bit stronger than mine. Collect all these different things. Yeah, a lot of talking it out, right? If
you have severe AP,
which I do,
this game could drag out, right? If you don't think about your turn, you just go, I'm just going to go in here. And you do it, and you don't start thinking ahead a couple turns. Well, if I go there and it activates and moves, it might see me, and I got to move the other one over here.
I think that this is a game that you need to think of, right?
You do.
But to some extent, right? Like, obviously, you can't plan out your moves too many ahead because of all of the components that are within this game, right? That are going to move after your turn.
But I think this game plays really well at 2 players.
It did.
Because the more players, the more thinky it gets. Because the more bots you have out, right? So the more, well, if I move that one there, and if you go over there, and she goes over that way, and I can get that, and you move the command module, and then you roll the dice, and you go, I didn't get anything I wanted.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
So.
Right, definitely, yeah. Like, you have to plan out your moves, but obviously, again, like, you can't plan it out too much ahead. But I do have AP, right? We all know that. And it wasn't too bad playing this game, right? And I didn't find either, because like a lot of the times when we play a cooperative game, you take the head, like the role as the head person or whatever, and I didn't find that happen too much in this game either.
No, because
we're pretty good.
Pretty good at bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah, exactly. Which obviously, if you're playing with somebody who is like that, who needs a lot of assistance with the game, maybe not for them either.
Yeah, you don't want too much quarterbacking going on.
No, exactly.
But it's a fun game. It's a thinky game.
Yeah, it's really cool how everything sets up too, right?
Yeah.
And then what were you saying for the room setup down at the bottom? It's got a list of everything.
It's got the list of rooms, and then for like the second floor, if that room was used in the previous floor, it's marked with an asterisk, so you know you don't need to go find it. It's already out on the
there.
table,
Yeah,
right?
which is nice because
it speeds up setup because there is a little bit of a setup when you have to change floors, right? You have to take everything off. The only thing that stays is if you have unlocked any safe zones.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Other than that, everything goes away. And you have to set up the whole floor plan again, basically setting up your second game on a harder mode. Right?
Which it definitely is harder, for sure.
Right. So there's that. But I think it's clever with the surveillance beads and moving in and locking the doors, and how if you don't unlock a door,
it just
stays there. You don't get to draw a new card. That's what the key is.
Exactly, because that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The key is the key in real life, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to continuously draw more. Yeah. So whoever goes and visits that door next can try.
So I like the quality of chip theory games.
Oh, obviously.
That's what they're known for. Neoprene mats.
Yeah.
Poker chips.
Yeah. I like the way that the neoprene mats really work, right? You got spaces for your dice.
I think it's super clever with the peg holes in the mats.
Yeah, I think, right? Exactly. Well,
marking doors that have been open or marking power on it,
it's a neat way to mark things.
Very neat.
Yeah, no.
Right, and since it's neoprene, it'll last forever. The cards are all the nice chip theory plastic cards. It's, as they say, it's waterproof.
I'm not bringing this near water.
No.
But it is waterproof.
But it's waterproof,
cool.
you know, to an extent.
Yeah.
You know, there's no paper that's going to be ruined.
No, exactly. Nothing. The chips, the pegs, like everything's plastic. I really like that the holders that everything comes for with the chips and the cards. Yeah. So you don't have cards laying on the table, which makes a big board game that much bigger. And it comes with this nice storage here. Everything stands up, and then any discards actually just get flipped over so that you can see them and placed at the back.
Yeah.
Which it eliminates all of the different discard piles and really helps keep the table clean.
Yeah, so it's definitely fun. Everything fits nicely in the box.
Even the mats.
Yeah. Even the mats. Yeah. Everything has a spot. It's a massive box. Like, let's again look at this size of this lid.
It's pretty big.
Right. Like, it's huge.
And
it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Too Many Bones' box. It's more rectangle than square.
But at least everything fits in it.
Everything fits.
Because all the expansions fit in it as well. So you're not sitting there with extra boxes.
Yeah. So the rules. So the big thing.
I did not read the rules. Nick reads the rules.
I find I haven't played a lot of chip theory games. I played Too Many Bones and I played Burncycle.
Yep.
Too Many Bones, I think everyone knows, was a hard rule book. It was a hard game to learn. Well, once you learned, it was fine. Same with this game. This time they brought in a learn to play scenario. So a turn-by-turn scenario. You do this. You simulate the dice rolling to a certain thing. You move, right? So it kind of breaks it down, but it's so wordy.
All the information is in there.
It's all in there.
You're going to find it.
You need to find it. Nothing. And so they gave you 3 books. You get the
scenario book, right? The floor plan.
The floor plan book. And then you get a learn to play and you get a rules reference. Okay, so the learn to play has the turn-by-turn scenario and also like kind of the starting, which you should almost read beforehand. However, this is a 43-page learn to play guide, right? And it doesn't start at the scenario. It's a lot. Is what I'm getting to. It's a lot. I feel like they could have laid it out better to make it feel easier to learn.
Yeah. Like you said, it took you a while to read through the rule books to learn the game, and it didn't take you that long to explain it to me to be able to play our first game. So probably a little overcomplicated, the rule book. And there is a little bit of a reference sheet that we were able to find on BGG and print off, right?
So this reference sheet, which, you know, I feel like should be in one of these pages or on the back of a book, but it is also 3 pages reference, right? And it's still not perfect. There's some things I would change.
But overall, once you learn the rules, you play a couple of games, it's really not as bad. It's easy enough because of the actions and everything.
No,
and
I think
it's a really
super
good
simple.
game. Yeah,
I think it's super simple. I think it's not that complicated.
no, it's just thinky, making sure because
Right.
you want to win the game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's definitely learnable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is an easier game than Too Many Bones to learn.
Yeah, well, the reference sheets for Too Many Bones is a lot. This one isn't too bad.
Right. The most complex thing about this game is trying to figure out, did the guard see me?
Yeah.
And which guards are moving towards me?
Mhm.
That's the most complicated thing about this game.
Yeah, because they're all facing a certain direction and
Yeah.
they can only really see straight lines, but then it's reduced to if it's around a corner.
Yeah. But other than that, I really like it for kind of being two little the mini game on the side of the
Yeah.
network board. You have the main thing. Everything flows well.
It did flow really well, and I like
Right.
the order that they have everything that you're doing, and then the corporation turn.
Yeah.
I think everything flowed really well, and I really enjoyed this game, and I can't wait to play this one again.
Yeah, I think we could definitely sit down for hours.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
I'll
With
play
all of
this,
the
right.
different all the different scenarios that you can play, like it's going to be a different game every single time
Yeah.
that you play.
And
Plus-
it's still random setup, right?
Exactly.
The bots are going to be different. They're
Yeah.
not certain bots in certain rooms. Right?
Exactly, and the different abilities for the captain, and of course the bots, whichever one you choose, are all going to be different abilities too.
A different power for the command
Exactly.
module.
I personally like to stick with one person to really get to know the abilities before I move on.
But don't be afraid to kind of go through them because there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot.
Oh, there
13
is.
if you have the expansion, 10
Yeah.
if you don't.
Yep.
But there's a lot, and you need to try to match
Yes.
it with the scenario.
Yeah.
Because that plays a big part in if you're going to win or lose. 'Cause
Exactly.
It gets hard. The first level is generally pretty easy. The second level is a little bit harder. And the third level is a lot harder.
Yeah, I should have chosen a different bot because honestly, there was no real scenario that I would have bumped into someone or landed on the space with them.
Yeah.
So definitely look at the different bots and pick it for whichever scenario that you've chosen. But yeah, we both enjoyed this game. Very happy that Chip Theory Games was able to get this to us at a discounted price. Really happy to get it to the table.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it.
Mhm.
I can't wait for more.
Yeah, we were very excited to get this in the mail.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Nick was away at work whenever I did get it. So
Well, unfortunately, I was able to take the rule book with
Exactly,
me to work
yeah.
and learn it.
unfortunately or fortunately?
So, yeah,
Fortunately.
to learn it so I could come home and teach
it.
you.
Yeah, and then play it. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is when you pull this game out, don't be afraid of the rule book because it's
No.
not as complicated as it looks.
Yeah. So yeah, just again, we do really enjoy this game. And if you've played this game or if you haven't, let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. So again, thank you so much for watching the video and we will catch you next time.
Subscribe.
And
Subscribe.
and
Subscribe.
see ya.
Bye.